we're starting our meeting at 7:32.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Yep.
It's all right.
so we'll have a attendance, Barry,
Here.
Janet,
Here.
and June here. There are quite a few prior minutes that have been written. I don't know how far you've gotten with those, Barry, but there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of minutes.
Well, I looked at the last two.
Okay,
And
You
I
wanna-
guess those are all right.
okay, so that would be for April 22nd, which is when we went to the Bullard House.
Yeah.
I had to leave and Janet had to leave. So I just said that the meeting was over around noontime because I didn't
Yeah.
really,
That's good.
but
for
I'm
me.
not sure what the correct way to deal with it is when you don't have a quorum, whether I should have just said it ended at 11:30 or,
That's fine too.
Oh. Well, I don't think there's any problem with it.
okay,
Just
just
I
let it
think
go.
they're
describe,
fine.
just
I
describe.
move to approve both sets of minutes, both of those two.
Okay,
I second.
okay,
I didn't manage to go back and search for the others. I will try to do that before we can, oh gosh. Yeah. There's two more sets, huh? Okay.
no, 3.
Oh, three more sets. Oh,
Some of them
Yeah,
are really
because-
short too, because they were just site visits.
yeah.
Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah, 1 is short, the other 2 are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's March 30th, then April 6th at the Bullard House, and then April 13th,
It's
which
the
was our
regular
last
meeting.
regular meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we've approved the last 2. That's good. Okay, just quickly, I summarized our money situation. We all know that we have Woodhouse CPA money and digital imaging money. The CPA totals $200K, and we haven't spent any of that. We can, do you want the breakdowns? We know that
No.
we can spend $30K already and 70K from fiscal year is available also from fiscal year 21. Then we have an amount, 48,000 something for fiscal year 22 and 51,543.38 or 30 for fiscal year 23. And then our digital imaging money, we've paid for our inventory notebook scans. So our balance is 4,500. We had to take $10 from our donations account to cover an overage for that. So our donations account is $739.55. Our budget remains at 600. And our Highland Commons mitigation money, we actually have $13,044.74. When we pay for our threshold, which is $1,250, we would have a balance of $11,794.74. And that's it for all our money.
June, if you want me to be the note keeper on this, I'm gonna have to have you repeat a couple. Otherwise, I'll just,
I can just send it to you if you
Okay,
want.
good.
Yeah.
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 Well, you've got that anyway, so.
Yeah. Okay. So demolition delay. Barry, you want to speak to that for 65, the
Yeah.
garage opposite 65 Walnut?
Yeah, we've got a demolition permit application to demolish the garage that's next to Pam Millet's house at 64 Walnut Street. It's across the street from 65, the greenhouses that we talked about previously. It's very close to Pam's house. It looks like it belongs with it as it did once. But due to the eccentricities of old landlines, It was built on what was once the road before the road was straightened. And so it goes with the land up and back of it instead of with Pam's house. And the owners of that are Massachusetts Broken Stone, and they want to demolish it. It is a concrete block building built in the 20th century. It's a little unusual in appearance, but I don't consider it historically significant myself. Have you had a chance to go by and see that, Janet? Or have you even heard about this before?
No, I just had read it in the agenda, but I
Okay.
did not know about it, no.
Yeah, yeah. It's a 20th century cement block building. And, but it certainly is, I mean, it goes back to before the, it goes back to when the fields were there. And so it's well over 50 years old. And so therefore it's subject to the demolition delay bylaw. So we have to have a vote to determine whether it is historically significant or not. I move that we say that it is not historically significant.
I second.
June, you've been by to look.
Yeah, I haven't in the last few days, but I've seen it
Yeah.
very recently. I don't think there's much change to it.
No, this is a
so,
two-car garage.
Yeah. Janet, are you all set with that, or?
Fine with that, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So, all those in favor, Barry
Aye.
and Janet
Aye.
and June, aye. So unanimously approved to declare it not historically significant.
Yep.
The concrete block garage opposite 65 Walnut. Okay, now the select board authorized the extra money so that we can have our threshold for $1,250 from Fort Ogden. That's all I know. I don't know what the next step is. I sent Margaret another message asking if there needs to be a notice to proceed. This is kind of a weird thing because it was the subject of a change order that never happened. But I'm assuming that she's going to write up a notice to proceed. Is that how you would understand it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, so we can have it done, and hopefully she'll, or whoever is helping her, will write that up, and it will be sent to Fort Ogden. In the meantime, I can reassure him that the estimate has been approved. Okay.
Let me ask if you can see me.
Yes, I can see you.
For some reason, oh, here we go. I've got a different screen that's come up and I just have to get back on the right screen. All right, thank you.
Okay. So I'll keep on top of that and follow up with Fort Ogden if I need to. But I think it would, at this point, it would come from Margaret.
And I will follow up on the demolition thing.
Okay.
With the appropriate officials.
Okay. I got a call from a contractor a couple of days ago. His name is Steve Barros. And he I don't know why he thought the Historical Commission had jurisdiction. I don't think he actually thought we had jurisdiction, but for some reason, his paperwork said that he had to wait for us to sign off. But what he's doing on Ball Hill Road is building a detached garage. And the building that's already there is not even 50 years old. So it's just,
No.
anyway, I thought I'd just let you know. I called Leanne and Richard Hanks took care of it
Okay.
so that he wouldn't be held up any longer.
Yeah, it probably still has, it was waiting for an okay from us, and I didn't, I haven't gone through any of those things, so I'll try to go in and look and see if there's anything else that's hanging that they're waiting for.
Okay.
I had not seen that one.
Yeah. Well, why would they? I wish they wouldn't send us things that we don't have jurisdiction over.
I am aware of that. At the same time, and they don't necessarily send us everything, but as a whole, it's probably better if we sign off on things that are insignificant to us than it is to never see them and have something slip by.
Okay.
Maybe someday we can get it to be more efficient, but before we had it all on that online system, they only referred certain things to us. And the online system has, it just has us as a sign off thing on many of the things, so. But you're right, any of the new construction that doesn't involve a demolition shouldn't be involved with us anyway.
Okay. The next thing I had listed was the grant application. Do you want to say anything about that, Janet, or you want to
I can
just?
say a few things. I was jotting down some notes actually, because I was trying to keep track of where we're at with that. And would you like to hear just a few things that
Sure.
relate to that? So I had said that with the changing makeup of the commission in February, and the raising of what all three of us agreed are important questions and tasks to address, we opted to get some help with decisions regarding the scope, sequence, and timeline of the work that would be covered by the grant. Let's see. And then I said we need guidance, carefully chosen person or people, as it's been our goal to do it right, to do it without wasting any of the town's money, and to have it last over time. Those are our big goals. And so our next step is to meet on Friday at 1 for an open Zoom meeting with Dan Barton, and that he's a respected architect. And Berlin has been really pleased working with him in the past. And that he's going to help us, guide us in identifying and framing the work that needs to be done, and in establishing realistic mileposts and timelines. We may discover that we are too far into the year and that we'll need to focus on round 30. I thought I might as well get that out there, because that's one of the questions that we're going to have to ask him. And, you know, I'm not ashamed of it. I think we're totally tackling this in exactly the way it should be, where we really raise our questions and answer them and make sure we're getting in the right direction. But if we did end up doing that, which I don't know if we will, but if we did end up going around 30, we would have a huge head start on it, which would be kind of neat. Then it's this about Central Mass, that Central Mass Regional Planning is one of the organizations that is assisting us. I've just sent them materials that they've asked for to assist us with the grant writing. I wrote up kind of a summary of the project as I know it. And she wanted a summary, and I didn't think we really had what you would call a summary. So I wrote one up. I'll send it to each of you so you can see it. And then what else do we do? Oh yeah, the other thing that's going to come from that is that Jen Dougherty, who is with the Mass Historical Commission. Do you know her? Anybody know? Do you know?
No. I've done a webinar with her.
Oh yeah, okay. So you have some sense of who she is.
Yeah.
She is going to talk with us at some point. They'll set something up where we can have a chat with her as well. And I figured that it can't hurt to connect with a lot of different people not just because they're involved with the grant, but because they're involved with the type of work we're trying to do. And it doesn't hurt to have some people like that that you can consult with or talk to if you have questions.
She's a key person. I mean, she's the person that's out that does the outreach to
Yes,
local historical commissions. So
Oh, okay, she's got the other fellow that had it for a long time is gone, so, yeah.
yeah,
and it's interesting because this happens all the time, but it's happening to us now where one person connects you with somebody else who connects you with somebody else. And, sometimes you feel a little overwhelmed at connecting with all these people, but at the same time, we have a project going here that's going to go far beyond the grant, and it's kind of neat to have people
Yeah.
that you can call and and say, we have a couple questions for you. So
networking is always good.
yeah, networking, right. And then I also commented on this, that we will continue to focus on improvements in the Bullard House, as well as raising funds when we can work on that too, beyond just the grant. And at the same time, we're squirreling away $100,000 match money that we won't touch because we want to have that available for the development grant.
Well,
And-
somehow out of the 200,000 we've got now, we've got to manage to have 100,000 of that reserved for work that will be eligible
Right.
to go with the grant.
Right. Right, exactly.
And I'm really hopeful with the idea of 200,000 plus
Mhm.
that we can work on the things that we really need to do that are important and structural, and hopefully get it done with that amount of money. That doesn't mean everything will be done in every detail, but the stuff that's major
Yeah,
and that we need to be, for safety reasons and all that stuff is taken care of. As far as patch and plaster and other things like that can come afterwards and be funded otherwise. But I just want to get rid of the structural problems.
yes.
Yeah, we do too.
That's the nice thing is we're all in agreement on that, and that's good. Makes it a lot easier when everybody agrees. Yeah,
That's
So-
good, Janet.
hopefully,
Thank you.
we'll
Yeah.
keep gathering our entourage of helpers because they certainly helping me since I'm new at a lot of these things.
Yeah. Well, they think of questions and they consider things that we might not think of at all.
Oh, yeah.
They know resources. too.
Uh,
It's good.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of other things to bring up, but we do need to spend our budget before the end of June. Is that right?
That's correct.
So I
If we
think
have
we're-
something ordered that hasn't come in yet, we can pay for it late. We can encumber the money and pay for it later, but we've got to have
Okay.
it, we've got to have the plan for spending done. And we still have to keep in mind that we have another demolition thing that we may have to have a hearing on, which is 136 Central Street.
okay.
130, yeah. Because the new house is already under construction and well up and back. So you never know when they're gonna put in the application to demolish, so.
We can't,
gotta-
I mean, we can't actually ask them to look at the building before there's a permit that's submitted.
Well, we can, but we don't, we can't do our
Business,
official action on it until they've submitted a permit request.
right?
And I
Well,
did
we-
suggest to them that they submitted at least 2 months before, about 2 months before they wanted to actually do it. So there'd be time for us to do all those things. And I haven't heard anything further back, so my answer is maybe they're not in that much of a hurry to demolish.
And this is the one we've talked about before.
Yeah,
This-
yeah, on Central Street.
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens.
It's not, it's unoccupied because of
It's,
electric issues.
it's not, it's not used for living space. It is used for, supporting the businesses, the orchard business and the landscaping business.
Okay. Okay, well, we just have to keep on top of the,
Well, I only mention it because some small amount of money,
oh,
$20,
needs to be
$20,
reserved.
$40, something, might need to be spent to hold a hearing before June 30th.
Okay. Well, we'll
I
have
did
to
we talked to Edith last night, and I'm gonna talk to her again and get together with her on the list of stuff to get from Gaylord. And
Okay.
we also talked at Historical Society Board about other things, and they were willing to consider putting $100 into more stuff, so.
Yeah, we need some thumb drives. It may be that Gaylord has archival thumb drives. I was gonna look that up today, but I didn't get to
Okay.
it.
Well, I would say let's see if we can't in the next week get an order for Gaylord ready.
Okay,
And I'll try to talk to Edie in the next day or two. She said she had doctor's appointments today, so.
yeah. We'll just have to reserve an appropriate amount.
Yeah.
Okay, ever present. I found out a couple of things, and I don't know if I put them in the minutes for April 27th or not.
I
When
think you
have so
did.
Yeah, when you have so many back minutes, you start to overlap
Yeah.
what actually happened at a certain time. But I brought home at the end of last week, I brought home the 2 thumb drives
Mhm.
that were given to us. And each one has both notebooks.
Oh, they both have the whole thing.
Right, so we actually have two drives
Okay.
that are identical and have both notebooks.
If that's the
Now-
case, I would suggest that we take one of them and put it in a little box and put it in the file down in the building and not use it.
And I brought them back early this morning.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
want to see anybody because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sick, but who knows
Yeah.
if I'm gonna get sick. And so they're both in there, and I'm thinking that we should give one, make arrangements to have one on the mainframe, which was a suggestion we made the last time we met.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can look at doing that.
Now, the link that they sent to me with a password,
Mhm.
that's different.
Yeah.
It's both notebooks, but you can't download the whole thing. You go from page to page. And I want to send that link to both of you. I was reluctant to send it to you, Barry, because I don't want you to attempt something and then have your Juno plugged up. But if you want me to, I'll send it.
I don't have
anyway.
any need to. I don't have any need to right now. And
Okay.
I'm gonna, given that we've done this, I'm gonna bring that other copy, the old Xerox copy home
Okay,
again, so that we
Okay.
have one offsite. And,
yep, that's good.
and I'm gonna suggest that we keep one of those, things that you have there offsite as well. Although if we can download one of those into the town system, then that'll be a way that we have an offsite thing. So that would be okay.
And I also have a thumb drive here my own thumb drive
Mhm.
that we can use with the complete download on it.
Oh, you've already made a download on your thumb drive.
Well, it's on a little drive. It's on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have that also.
So you've already made one copy of it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And that link, see, the link is to give to anybody you want to have a look. And I don't know who those people would be, but it's only good for 6 months, which means September 30th,
Oh.
it goes away.
Oh,
And you can actually renew it, but it costs $85. But I don't, I don't think we have need of that unless
I don't think so.
you want to. I think I would feel more comfortable if the three of us could maybe we can have a curatorial building site visit. And so that we can, because we can't get online there, but maybe we could get online at the town hall. But I'd feel more comfortable if you guys would view that link with me and see what that's all about. I feel limited just knowing about it myself. Anyway, we can think about that. We've got some time.
It seems to me if you've got, as of right now, 3 copies
That's right.
available. And
Yeah,
we've got,
total download.
if we can get it onto the town, one of those copied onto the town computer system too. That's 4 copies and 2 of them are in other locations. I don't know what, and especially if this other thing is cumbersome to use, I'm not sure it's worth continuing.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes from, you have to download each page.
Yeah, yeah.
At time. And,
Each page is a separate file.
That's right. Yeah, so it's not very useful, actually.
And
Okay.
if that's all we had, I would say, let's do something about it. I made, when I first started doing those Old Town reports, I made files like that 1 page at a time or 2 pages at a time. And then I finally figured out how I could make it all one file and have the whole booklet in one file. And I talked to James about that. And he said he could take those disparate ones and put them together into a file for us. So my answer would be, if we didn't have something better already, I would be trying to do that. But if we've already got 3 good copies, I don't see any sense in going through all that.
Okay. So I think we just need a little supply of maybe 4 gigabyte thumb drives so that we can get you those pictures of the fashion shows that Marty has. And I think, well, this is kind of a function of the society, but we need to give Marty's pictures of the Hearst house, at least, maybe other pictures as well, to her for the presentation that the building committee, the Hearst House Building Committee, is going to make, hopefully for our annual meeting. So I'll just order some if Gaylord doesn't have anything special, and we can spend our $100, some of our $100 on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have one other thing. Peggy Sardell sent a work-off inquiry, not just to us, but to some other departments as well. Yeah. It's a person who lives on Allen Road. Her name is Karen Velasquez. Do you know that family?
I don't.
No? Okay. So I told Peggy that, you know, we would like to meet her. You know, we would like to have a chance to meet her, and that, you know, she needs to be, if considered, she needs to be interested in archiving, which I just take to mean listing and describing and protecting. That's how I described it. And she would have to work along with one or both of us. I just put that out there so that if that didn't seem like a reasonable opportunity, that, you know, we wouldn't have to follow it through anymore. But Peggy got back to me and she said Karen Velasquez was very interested. She does have somewhat of a research background. I think she was in banking. So she's got some business skills that I guess we don't really need for archiving, but an intelligent person and very well spoken. When I called her to tell her that the commission was meeting this evening and that I would bring up her application.
Well, what does her
So
application say on it?
it says, well, Peggy didn't actually give me, she gave me like a little summary, and I printed it out here. Her areas of interest include research, customer service rep, and general office tasks. She lists her skills and experience as the following. She was a head teller and a CSR, which is a customer service rep, and assistant treasurer of a bank. So she feels she would be useful in a department that deals with payments and billing, as well as researching information for residents. Interested in genealogy and would be helpful with town records and gathering info for residents. She's a former real estate broker. She's a former sales associate, so she has good customer service skills. So there's a couple of points there where she intersects with, you know, our you know, what we would need her for. I had a couple of ideas. I know at our last meeting on the 27th, we agreed that we would each come up with at least one idea about how to go forward with having someone help us as a work-off employee. And
I did bring some too, so.
did you? You want to go ahead with yours?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Mine are pretty prosaic. I just felt that if we meet with her and we think that she would, you know, work out and be helpful, that it seemed to me that we should give her an introduction, and maybe to you also, Janet, to show you and her our inventory files and what those documents look like and how we try to make the inventory forms with photographs. I mean, we sort of, I think Barry went through this with Mr. Buccella, who was a pro actually, and he ended up not working with us because he needed to, you know, to
Earn
create
money.
earn money. Yeah, earn money. So, and then I thought that we should, and this is good for Janet too, just so she knows, not because she needs to have another job, but so that she knows how we're numbering, our recent numbering for 2022. We've really tried to start to do that with things that are coming in recently, not old things that we've just neglected, but new acquisitions. And then I think I'd defer to Barry to pick maybe a couple of categories, 2 or 3 categories of things that we have a lot of, maybe clothing or whatever, just so that this person and Janet too have a way to think about the collection. You know, I know a very few things about the collection, and there's just a lot to consider. So I don't know, what do you think? Would you like to meet with her?
I think so.
I think that's wise. The thing you have to do, as we did with Francesco, I think we need to talk about some things and find a project that she would like to work on and that we felt we could get her going on and accomplishing something quickly. Believe me, the numbering system is not the answer. At least not right now.
No, I just wanted people to be aware of, Janet and her to be aware of how we're going forward with the numbering, that's all. Not to have her do it, but.
Well, I just think spend the time with her. I mean, have a visit, talk about things, and then, and get us started on something. A person needs to get acquainted with the kind of stuff we're doing. I mean, we've just got Jane coming in, and we're just getting to the point where we really can start to move her into doing something, really doing something.
Yeah.
But you just have to sit around and talk and look at stuff and think about it and figure out what to do. I did put away those organization books record books that we got. I got some boxes out, put those in today. And,
good.
But it was useful to sit and talk about those things because people have to have some understanding of what kinds of things you're doing. I think that the scrapbooks that we want to do about the clothing shows, that could be a good project that somebody can do some of the work on with us. And if they get the handle on it, they can start to do some of that. But trying to teach people a whole bunch of the global stuff of the whole thing is really too much for them to try to take in without take a piece and work on a piece, you know? And over time, yes, you introduce them to different things.
You know, there were a few things that I had on my list.
Good.
They're kind of random, but one of them is transcribing talks that have been given as programs. Somebody who doesn't mind sitting with a video, recording, and just with their computer or his computer, writing down what they're hearing. And, it might be that the person who gave the talk would like to review it and make sure they got it right. But that's the thing that I think is badly needed, is how do we take this information and turn it into something that we can lasts and that we can bring out and look at. So that was one thing, transcribing talks given at programs, some of the ones that you've done, Barry, transcribing interviews, even doing interviewing. Who knows, we might find somebody who really is good at that and could go off with somebody else and just talk to them and get some of those things down. I think the other thing that crossed my mind, and this could be for not only work-off tasks, but also just volunteers, just getting more people involved in the organization.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
One was, June and I have been talking a lot about these straw hats and how do you braid straw? And, we grow tons of rye, okay, because that's a cover crop. And so, you let some grow big and you take it and you say, well, gee, someday, wouldn't it be nice if one of us had time to figure out how did they do this? And that might be something somebody would like to do who doesn't really want to do paperwork, but would like to do something helpful to us. And they could actually take that, do a little research, try flattening that rye out and braiding it. And I think for some people that would be like the perfect task. And while they're doing it, they're becoming, again, more involved with the commission and the society. There's always, June, you've talked about all those boxes that are up in the upstairs in the Bullard house, and, just taking them out, doing a loose sorting of, this is China, these are basket, whatever. And laying it out for that's when the custodian of the collection and the custodial committee would have to identify, what goes to the yard sale, what goes to the, collection, because obviously a newbie isn't going to know how to do that. But that's another thing that, June, you've talked about, getting to some of those boxes. Labeling. I know is it the clothing, something we said did not have labels yet. And that might be, I don't know if that's something you really have to be around a lot for to know how to do, but
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we were referring to.
Was it the clothing? Was it the dress boxes or something that
Well, I think that Edie has certainly labeled the ones that she's worked on over the years, but there's no inventory. You'd have to stand in front of, as far as I know, there's no inventory.
Yeah.
So you don't.
We have, that's one of the things we're trying to do with this stuff from the shows, is to get the commentary that we used in the show, the descriptions and so forth, and get those with a photograph, so that we have something that, that shows the object and what it looks like, and also some descriptions of materials and the fibers and so forth in it. And that's one of the things that one of the reasons we're trying to do that. The thing that it comes to mind for somebody who says they do research is that we do have objects that we don't know much about. Even if we know what it is, we don't know how to use it and that kind of stuff. And so there are things like that somebody could take and go learn about it. Go look it up, get on the internet and look for things, and maybe, carry it further in order that we get more information about it that they can put together for us to go on the file about that object. June, you've done some of this yourself with some things, and there's no reason that somebody else can't go looking for what the China pattern is, or who the company was, or those kinds of things. Those are things that somebody can do. They aren't something that we already know the answers to, and therefore they're things that somebody else can go looking for, and they can search for it just about as well as we can.
Yeah, that's a neat idea too. And for some people, that's exactly what they like to do. They like the mystery,
Yeah.
Another thing that I had on my list was to take their cell phone or their camera and go out and photograph some things in the community. I was thinking that whole thing about road signs and how did these roads get named? What do they name? And, if someone went and took some, they don't have to be great photographers to take pictures of something like road signs, or a certain kind of landscape, or a bridge, the bridges, or railroad crossings, or anything where you could get that and then make it sort of lead to studying about them, if that's something that interests them. And then there's always just assisting somebody who knows the care and packaging and storage of artifacts, getting help with that, which obviously they have to do just right if they're going to take care of them. The other thing that struck me that I thought might be really cool is gardening. People who like to garden, if we could get someone who was interested in researching what, at least at one of the numerous stages that the house in which there was building going on in the house, which means almost any time in history, but in the last 200 years. But if we could talk, figure out what might you have found in the yard of a place like the Bullard house, and pick a time or have it be, whatever, however you thought it through. The nice thing about working on some real researched gardening would be that people would see things happening as they drive by. And I think that's one of the things that they really want to see is that, oh, look what they're doing in there now. We may not be in the house, you know what I mean? Not yet. We can be doing that. And
As much as I greatly support that concept,
yes,
until we know what's going to happen with this big construction project that might dig up all the way around the house,
right.
I would say we aren't quite ready to do that one.
Maybe they could start the research on it now.
Well, that's true. And
design.
I mean, Richard was interested in this
Yeah,
and was planting some stuff, and Marcia has some interest in that too.
yeah,
But it's never, I mean, other than what Richard did for a little while, not much has been done with it for quite a while. And I hesitate to say where you can do anything right now until we
yeah.
get
I agree.
better picture of the plans. But that longer term, that's very much something that we can have people do.
Yeah.
Have a whole group that works on it.
Oh, yeah, and I think too, some of the herbal things and some of the medicinal
Oh, yeah.
plants would be kind of neat, and to have a, you know, a little show of those, or have people can come and just sit in the yard and smell them, you know.
And an herb garden is an obvious thing to want to have.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I was trying to think of all the different interests that people have and how you could engage both your work off people, but also just anybody who for a couple or 3 weeks or something said, well, I can't be a permanent volunteer, but I could help do this and so, you know, and just engage more people. But anyway, that was what I had come up with so far. So I'll
That's good.
put them in the,
No-
we'll get them in the minute.
Numbers of good ideas there.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Well,
That's-
do you want me to set up a meeting time with this lady?
My suggestion is yes, but the
Next-
first thing you need to do is get yourself back out in the public.
I
And
know.
once you know that's accomplished, then you can set up a time with her, and we'll meet with her and just chat with her and see what possibilities are there that she'd be interested in.
Okay.
And we'll work on from there. I mean, the big thing is you got to get something they can put their teeth into.
She sounds like she might be one of,
Before she starts to do anything for us, though, maybe not just to meet with us to get acquainted with, you know, what it is we do. Peggy has to put her through the paperwork.
Mhm.
So she can meet with us, but we can't really have her as a work-off person until Peggy does all her stuff, her
right.
paperwork.
Oh, well, I understand that, but I
Yeah.
think that we need to get some acquaintance with her and give her
Make
some
sure.
acquaintance with us before
Yes.
we try to do that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. And
All
it
right,
sounds
I
like
will-
she's one of those people that could very well be good with numbers and very precise. And you would not want to have me, for example, volunteer to make no mistakes in the, you know, details of some labeling or something. But she sounds like someone that might be very good for that type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe she wants something entirely different though. Maybe she's tired of it. That's where Barry, your idea of getting to know her and talk with her is a good idea.
Yeah.
And certainly when we've done this kind of thing with somebody before, some things light them up. And you're looking for something that light them up as something they might do. With Francesco, we got 2 boxes of library records there, library trustees records and stuff. And all in all, what we should be doing is going through those, sorting them out a little, and then transferring most of it down to the town vault, because it really isn't our stuff. It's really town records that for some reason or other, they decided to shunt off to us at the library, but things that should be kept as permanent records. And once we can ascertain that and perhaps do any sorting that's needed, those boxes can get out of the vault and out of our hands and out of our place, which would be wonderful. It's 2 big
Yes.
boxes of that. So I'd love to get some of those kinds of things done. And that was something that Francesco was sort of talking about starting out with. It would be right up his alley to have been up his alley to do. And we'll see what this lady's like. Maybe she
Okay.
could do that kind of stuff.
Well,
And,
I explained to her that I wasn't really available probably for another 5 days or so,
Yeah.
if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
If I'm not lucky, then it's going to be longer, but so far so good. So I'll send her an email and tell her that we want to meet with her, and that I'll get back to her next week, and we'll set up a
I
time.
think that's fine.
That would be
I
nice.
told her that we're open to the public 2 to 4 on Wednesday afternoons. And she seemed to indicate that she was pretty flexible as far as the time she could work with us, except for Tuesdays. Tuesday was not a good day.
Mhm.
So,
That's great.
I think that's all, except maybe being ready for Dan on Friday. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit?
I
we,
think that's a good idea.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's seen those documents.
That's right.
And there are a few things I would question him about in terms of, do we really have to dig up all around the house to do this? Or do we really need to jack up the whole house to do this? Is there another way? Secondly, I also am interested in his take on the best use of $200,000 or $300,000 in terms of the important things the best and most important things to do with that. I'm really not interested in asking for more money from the town until we've gotten a lot of this used up and able to show something for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel we ought to put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, we've got to show that we've got use for it and that we're doing it.
I think, don't you think though that if Dan has opinions about those buildings, or thus at least, well, in particular, the second building survey, I would bet that he's going to ask to build into the plan a priority for a civil engineer to have a look. Do you think that that's?
Well, I mean, that's things like those services are one of the things that I would be expecting him to help us with as priorities and how we should go about engaging them.
Because I did, and I had 2 conversations with him, and in one of them, I referred to the building survey, and I told him that we were concerned about the strategies that have been proposed for rehabilitating the foundation. And that's at that point, that's when he said that the way he goes about helping is really to frame the whole plan.
Yeah.
Not to just address, certainly have priorities, but not to address like a single question. That's the takeaway I got from that. So
yeah,
I think
well,
we've been somewhat
talking
doing that ourselves, don't you feel?
well, we've been round and round. I can't,
questions.
we're asking the same question over and over again, I think, because we don't have any we don't have any way to
But I
be
think
sure.
they're pretty big questions,
They are. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it's not like we're focused in on one thing and that's all we care about. We're really, I think, trying to make it all fit together.
Yeah.
At least
I
that's
think
what we
that
think about it.
one of the things, his thing is to take this whole picture and help us to put it in order and make some sense out of it. And
That's right.
What to do first, what assistance to get to do this, and what in what order some things might be done, and secondly, what some sense of costs in terms of how we can best utilize the amount of money that may be available. And the other thing I'm interested in hearing from him is whether, $100,000 request from the state is realistic. and then secondly, just how much are we restricted in the future for what we can do based on the fact that we've gotten a grant like this? And the preservation restrictions that would therefore be placed on the building. We need to know that more about that than we do at this point.
Yeah, good point.
Okay.
I was thinking of one more thing when you said that. I'm interested in how our spending money and how the design of the order in which we'll do things and which things have to come first. How is that either promoted or held back by having to merge and mesh with the grant and their schedule? You know, we've decided we do want to go for this grant. It would be great to get something. I'd be surprised if we got 100,000, only because it just seems like a lot of people apply for this, and they may have to spread it out a little thinner than that. But on the other hand, who knows? But I just am curious as to seeing how he would see all of these variables and these things that we're trying to consider, how they can mesh together as a whole unit, and what the timeline and the benchmarks and all of that would look like. Because it's just too complicated for me to be able to embrace it in my brain and still kind of know where we're going with this grant, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll really speak in detail to the grant. I wonder if.
I think he will. Something you said, or somebody said, about his thinking that, you know, you have to start really early, maybe earlier than we have.
That's right.
I don't
He
know who
did say
said that,
yeah.
but so I
He
think
said that.
I think he's gonna definitely
he was
weigh in on
thinking that perhaps it was a little late in
Yeah.
knowing that we didn't really have a plan.
Right.
He thought maybe it was not going to happen
This round.
quickly enough for this. And also we need to bring up the fact that should we have been considering a pre-development grant also?
You know, I was reading over the pre-development grant this afternoon, and it is interesting. If you just read it over, it doesn't take long at all if you look at the application. There's a lot of stuff in that pre-development that we've, if not begun, have really worked our way through quite a bit of it. And I think a lot of our questions to Dan are going to focus on what one talks about when they do the pre-development grant. So we may decide that we actually have covered a lot of that ground.
Yeah, with the building surveys and
yeah, exactly. But then on the other hand, if we haven't come to terms and been at peace with the building survey, then have we really accomplished what we need to? So does that mean we haven't gotten through this pre-development stage? Or does it mean we have, because we've experienced it and we know what a good builder, a good, you know, historical build, whatever you call his builder, has presented it? Do we say, good, we've done that? And I'm just not sure about all of that. And it's
his whole thing is to give us a plan or a roadmap for how you go about the whole project. At least that's my sense of it. He doesn't so much want to get into the specifics of whether you do this or whether you do that, and can you do this. On the other hand, I think that he still could answer a couple of those questions for us in terms of some aspects of it.
Yeah.
Just of, you know, how can we approach things? But at the same time, I'm not expecting him to give us all those answers either. But he will give us, I think, some sense of what a schedule would look like. And he should, by looking at what we've already given him, he should be able to tell us whether we are anywhere close to being able to proceed, or whether we really need to go back and deal with it from a more basic point. I always felt like Carl was pushing the thing just too fast. Not that it wasn't worth pushing, because it is, but at the same time, you can't push it faster than you can get it done.
You know, well, I think my problem has been that I was so new, and I wasn't just new. I mean, Carl and I came on at the same time, but Carl came with a background and he came with an ability to really get his ideas on paper, and he must have spent hours and hours on it. And I would think, and I didn't come with any of those things. And so for me, this extra time that we're getting is just so invaluable. And I feel like you're going to get a lot more out of me for not having rushed it, because I would have been totally lost, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah. We were.
And
we were-
the other thing is that we also need to continue our efforts to get 2 more members for the commission.
Yes, I've been working on one. I will leave the person unnamed, but I have one idea.
Okay.
Oh, good.
I'll talk to you a little otherwise. Mary mentioned it to me tonight, just now when we were trying to get the meeting going, as to whether you would continue. And I told her, my understanding is you were very interested in continuing. I think she said she'd sent you an email about it.
She did,
But
and
you
my-
already have. Janet is down there for already
yes.
renewing.
Well,
Okay.
I think that the one thing I have to do is go over, and I'll go over tomorrow during the day and just get sworn in. But my understanding is that for me, for some reason, my situation, I don't have to do anything more than get sworn in.
How could that be? No, the select board has to appoint.
Well, maybe they have. I don't know. Nobody has told me that I had to go and do something.
No, you don't
Except-
have to go do something.
Yeah, yeah.
She should have sent you an email asking if you wanted to continue.
Yes.
Did you
I
get such
forwarded
an
that
email?
to you.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it said in terms of how they asked me, but
You have to, what
Yeah.
it said was that you need to go to the town clerk's office and be sworn in.
yeah, that's all it said. I
It
had,
did.
yeah,
That must mean
Yes.
that they already did the appointment then.
yeah.
When did that come?
When did I
I
first?
forwarded it to Janet right after you told her to look for an email, because the email had already come. So I forwarded it to her.
Yeah, that's
so
how
that
I
she-
got it. I got it because you forwarded it to me. I don't know that it
But
came.
it actually came a few days before that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I got it a few days before that, but I wouldn't swear to it one way or the other.
Mary,
In
the
any
way
case-
Mary
I
spoke to me
think we're fine.
tonight, I can't believe she would have spoken to me the way she did if they'd already appointed it at a select men's meeting.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
I'll
I-
make sure. I'll call the selectmen, the select
I
board and
think
make sure.
I think Mary is
Yes.
mistaken according to the,
Yeah.
if you look at the chart, Janet's already,
On what chart?
the
No,
chart that's
Guys, don't
in the
worry about
latest-
it. I will, don't.
in
you
the
don't
latest
worry about it.
email,
I
there's
will
a
check in
chart,
with
and
them.
Janet is checked off.
I'll call Mary and just make sure that from their point of view, I'm on, and then I'll be sworn in tomorrow. So
Okay,
I'll
good.
take the responsibility for that.
Well, your current appointment doesn't run out till the end of the month.
Yeah,
So, the big thing is to talk to the office and make sure that they've already appointed you, and then you can go get sworn in. If
right,
they haven't already appointed you, you can't get sworn in.
right. That's what I'm gonna find out, but I'll take care of it.
But
No.
renewal is different, Barry, isn't it? When you're just
No.
wanting,
No, you have to get reappointed. When your term is up, you have to get reappointed for a new term.
Hey, here's another good question. Do you guys even want me to stay on?
yeah. If you don't
The
stay
answer to
on,
that
I'm
is
gonna
yes.
put my hands up.
The answer to that is yes. We already,
Good. I was just begging for a compliment, that's all.
yeah. But, the fact that she asked me what she did tonight, I can't believe that they've already done the appointment.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm not gonna say anymore because it doesn't matter.
No,
Well, I
'cause-
haven't seen the message that came, so I don't know what it said.
yeah,
Yeah.
But
Okay.
usually it comes out and there's a bunch of things and it'll say, please tell us whether you want to be reappointed.
yeah.
And that's all you gotta do is say, yes, I do. And then they'll do it at their next meeting probably.
Yeah,
And she did tell me that Margaret was trying to move forward with the annual appointments with dispatch, so.
Yeah.
I would say that, they would do it at their meeting next week if they didn't already do it this week.
Okay, I think that's it. Unless there's some other business that
I don't have any.
you know of.
Well, if that's the case, I'll move to adjourn.
Right.
I'll second it.
I hope that 1 o'clock on Friday, I hope that we're
I hope
We
it
don't
works a lot better than it did today.
okay.
Yes,
But I still don't know why it didn't work the regular, except that I did check in this morning to see whether I was gonna be asked for that extra layer, and I wasn't. But then when I checked in tonight, I didn't even get the thing to make my choice, so that I usually do. So I don't know. But at any rate, it should be all right as of right now. And Mary did say that a couple of other boards have met and they didn't have any problem meeting. It may have been more tied to the matter of scheduling the meetings than it was to
yeah.
to actually holding the meetings.
Okay.
Anyway, I moved to adjourn.
Okay. Okay, I second. All those in favor, Janet
Yes, I.
and Barry
I
and June, aye.